listening to the Holy Bible 1-Year Challenge with Master Storyteller Michael Wood, featuring the easy-to-read version and used by permission from Bible League International. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 208. We're continuing in the book of First Chronicles, and we're still going over quite a number of genealogies. We'll be looking at Israel's sons, the sons of Judah, Ram's descendants, Caleb's descendants, Jerahmeel's descendants, and other descendants of Caleb. We'll also be looking at David's sons, the succession of the kings of Judah after David's time. We'll look at David's family tree that happened after the Babylonian captivity, as well as other groups of Judah. We're also continuing in the book of Romans. For the most part, Paul has been speaking to the Jews, and his main message in Romans chapter 10 and the beginning of Romans chapter 11 is that God opened up salvation for everyone, not just his chosen people. And in this part, Paul uses a lot of different scripture references to support his point. So it's not just Paul saying what Paul thinks. This is not an opinion piece necessarily. He's using the same scriptures that have as much, or if not more, weight and authority that the Jews trusted and obeyed, including scriptures from Moses himself and Isaiah. And he even throws in a quote from God for good measure. And he says, salvation is for everyone. So does that mean God forgot about his chosen people? I mean, for a while, especially in the Old Testament, the Jews were God's chosen people. Did he just forget about that? How do we reconcile God's promise to them while at the same time opening up salvation for non-Jews? Well, Paul goes into detail of how that works.
If you enjoy the show, visit me at patreon.com/storymaster. You'll find the link in the description box below. By contributing as little as $1 per month, you will enable me to continue this ministry, and you'll get cool rewards too. Together, we're going to get through the Bible in 1 year. Let's get started.
First Chronicles chapter 2, verses 18 to 55. Caleb's descendants. Caleb was Hezron's son. Caleb had children with his wife Azubah. Azubah was the daughter of Jerioth. Azubah's sons were Jesher, Shobab, and Ardon. When Azubah died, Caleb married Ephrathah. Caleb and Ephrathah had a son. They named him Hur. Hur was Uri's father, and Uri was Bezalel's father. Later, when Hezron was 60 years old, he married the daughter of Machir, who first settled the land of Gilead. After Hezron married Machir's daughter, she gave birth to Segub. Segub was Jair's father. Jair ruled 23 cities in the land of Gilead, but Gesher and Aram took Jair's villages. Among them were Kenath and the small towns around it. There were 60 small towns in all. All these towns belonged to the sons of Machir, who first settled the land of Gilead. After Hezron died, his son Caleb married Ephrathah, Hezron's widow, and they had a son named Ashur, who first settled the town of Tekoa. Jerahmeel's descendants. Jerahmeel was Hezron's first son. Jerahmeel's sons were Ram, Bunah, Oren, Ozam, and Ahijah. Ram was Jeharameel's first son. Jeharameel had another wife named Atara. Onam's mother was Atara. Jerahmeel's first son, Ram, had sons. They were Maz, Jamin, and Eker. Onam's sons were Shammai and Jada. Shammai's sons were Nadab and Abishur. Abishur's wife was named Abihail. They had two sons. Their names were Aban and Molid. Nadab's sons were Seled and Ephaim. Seled died without having children. Ephaim's son was Ishi. Ishi's son was Shishan. Shishan's son was Ali. Jada was Shammai's brother. Jada's sons were Jether and Jonathan. Jether died without having children. Jonathan's sons were Peleth and Zaza. These were Jerahmeel's descendants. Sheshan did not have sons. He only had daughters. Sheshan had a servant from Egypt named Jarah. Sheshan let his daughter marry Jarah. They had a son. His name was Attai. Attai was Nathan's father. Nathan was Zabad's father. Zabad was Ephlaal's father. Ephlaal was Obed's father. Obed was Jehu's father. Jehu was Azariah's father. Azariah was Helez's father. Helez was Eliashah's father. Eleasah was Sismai's father. Sismai was Shallum's father. Shallum was Jechamiah's father. And Jechamiah was Elishama's father. Other descendants of Caleb. Jerahmeel's brother Caleb had other descendants. His first son was Mesha, who first settled the town of Ziph. Caleb had another son named Marishah, the father of Hebron. Hebron's sons were Korah, Tapua, Rechem, and Shema. Shema was the father of Raham, who first settled the town of Jorkim. Rechem was Shemai's father. Shemai's son was Maon, who first settled the town of Beth-zur. Caleb's slave woman was named Ephah. Ephah was the mother of Haran, Moza, and Gazez. Haran was Gazez's father. Jedi's sons were Regem, Jotham, Geshon, Pelet, Ephah, and Shaph. Maacah was another slave woman of Caleb. Maacah was the mother of Sheber and Tirhanah. Maacah was also the mother of Shaph and Sheva. Shaph first settled the town of Madmannah, and Sheva settled the towns of Magmena and Gibeah. Caleb's daughter was Aksa. This is a list of Caleb's descendants. Hur, the first son of Caleb's wife, Ephrathah, had 3 sons: Shobal, who first settled the town of Kiriath-Jearim, Salma, who settled the town of Bethlehem, and Hariph, who settled the town of Beth-Gader. Shobal, the ancestor of Kiriath-Jearim, had these descendants: Haroah, half the people from Manati, and the tribes from Kiriath-Jearim, the Ethrites, Puthites, Shumathites, and Mishrates. Shobal's descendants also included the Zorathites and Eshtawelites, who came from the Mishrates. This is a list of Salma's descendants: the people from Bethlehem, Nephtophah, Atroth Beth Joab, half the people from Manati, the Zorites, and the families of scribes who lived at Jabez, Tirath, Shimeath, and Sukkah. These scribes are the Kenites, who came from the family of Hamath, who was also the ancestor of the Rechabites. 1 Chronicles chapter 3. David's sons. These are David's sons, who were born in the town of Hebron. The first was Amnon. Amnon's mother was Ahinoam. She was from the town of Jezreel. The second son was Daniel. His mother was Abigail from Carmel in Judah. The third son was Absalom. His mother was Maacah, the daughter of Talmai. Talmai was the king of Geshur. The fourth son was Adonijah. His mother was Haggith. The fifth son was Shephatiah. His mother was Abital. The sixth son was Ethream. His mother was David's wife, Eglah. These 6 sons were born to David in Hebron. He ruled as king in Hebron for 7 years and 6 months. David ruled as king in Jerusalem for 33 years. And these are his children who were born in Jerusalem: Shemaiah, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. Their mother was Bathsheba, the daughter of Ammiel. 9 other sons: Ibhar, Elishua, Eliphelet, Noga, Nepheg, Japhiah, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphelet. These were all of David's sons, except for the sons of his slave women. Their sister was named Tamar. Kings of Judah after David's time. Solomon's son was Rehoboam. Rehoboam's son was Abijah. Abijah's son was Asa. Asa's son was Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat's son was Jehoram. Jehoram's son was Ahaziah. Ahaziah's son was Joash. Joash's son was Amaziah. Amaziah's son was Azariah. Azariah's son was Jotham. Jotham's son was Ahaz. Ahaz's son was Hezekiah. Hezekiah's son was Manasseh. Manasseh's son was Amon. Amon's son was Josiah. This is a list of Josiah's sons. The first son was Jehonan. The second son was Jehoiakim. The third son was Zedekiah. The fourth son was Shallum. Jehoiakim's sons were Jehoiachin, his son, and Zedekiah, his son. David's family after Babylonian captivity. This is a list of Jehoiachin's children after Jehoiachin became a prisoner in Babylon: Shealtiel, Malchiram, Pedaiah, Shenazar, Jechamiah, Hoshama, and Nedabiah. Shealtiel's sons were Zerubbabel and Shimei. Zerubbabel's sons were Meshullam and Hananiah. Shelomith was their sister. Zerubbabel had 5 other sons also. Their names were Hashubah, Ohel, Berechiah, Hazadiah, and Jushab-Hesed. Hananiah's son was Peliatah. His son was Jeshiah. His son was Rephaiah. His son was Arnan. His son was Obadiah. His son was Shechaniah. This is a list of Shechaniah's descendants. Shemaiah had 6 sons. Shemaiah, Hattush, Egal, Bariah, Neriah, and Shaphat. Neriah had 3 sons. They were Elionai, Hizkiah, and Azrikam. Elionai had 7 sons. They were Hodaviah, Eliashib, Heliah, Akab, Johanan, Deliah, and Anani. 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verses 1 through 8. Other family groups of Judah. Judah was the ancestor of Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Shobal's son was Reah, the father of Jahath. Jahath was the father of Ahumai and Lahad, ancestors of the Zorathites. Hur was the first son of his mother Ephrathah. Some of his descendants settled the town of Bethlehem. Some of his other descendants were Etam, Penuel, and Ezer. Etam's sons were Jezreel, Ishma, and Idbash, and their sister was named Hazalel-Poni. Penuel first settled the town of Gedor, and Ezer settled the town of Husha. Ashur, who first settled the town of Tekoa, had 2 wives. Their names were Helah and Narah. Narah had 4 sons, Ahuzam, Hefer, Temeni, and Hahashtari. The sons of Helah were Zereth, Zohar, Ethnan, and Kaz. Kaz was the father of Anub and Hazbobeba. Kaz was also the ancestor of the families of Aharel, the son of Harum. Romans chapter 10, verses 5 through 21. Moses writes about being made right by following the law. He says,
The person who obeys these laws is the one who will have life through them.
but this is what the scriptures say about being made right through faith. Don't say to yourself,
Who will go up into heaven?
this means who will go up to heaven to get Christ and bring him down to earth. And don't say,
Who will go down into the world below?
this means who will go down to get Christ and bring him up from death. This is what the scripture says. God's message is near you. It is on your lips and in your heart. This message from God is the message about faith that will tell everyone. If you confess with your mouth, Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from death, you will be saved. Yes, we believe in Jesus deep in our hearts, and so we are made right with God, and we openly confess that belief, and God saves us. The scriptures say, anyone who trusts in him will never be disappointed. It says anyone, because there is no difference between those who are Jews and those who are not. The same Lord is the Lord of all people, and he richly blesses everyone who calls out to him for help. Yes, everyone who calls out to the Lord for help will be saved. But how can people call out to the Lord for help if they don't believe in him? And how can they believe in the Lord if they have not heard about him? And how can they hear about him if no one tells them? And how can anyone go and tell them without being sent? That's why the scriptures say, how wonderful it is to see someone coming to tell good news. But not all the people accepted that good news. And that's why Isaiah said, Lord, who believed what we told them? So faith comes from hearing the good news. And people hear the good news when someone tells them about Christ. But I ask, did these people not hear the good news? Yes, they heard. As the scriptures say, the announcement went out to all the earth. The message went to every part of the world. Again, I ask, did the people of Israel not understand? Yes, They did understand. First, Moses says this for God. I will use those who are not really a nation to make you jealous. I will use a nation that does not understand to make you angry. Then Isaiah was bold enough to say this for God. The people who found me were not looking for me. I made myself known to people who were not asking for me. But about the people of Israel, God said,
All day long I stood ready to accept those people, but they are stubborn and refuse to obey me.
Romans chapter 11, verses 1 through 10. So I ask, has God rejected his own people? Of course not. I myself am an Israelite. I am from the family of Abraham, from the tribe of Benjamin. God chose the Israelites to be his people before they were born, and he has never rejected them. Surely you know what the scriptures say about Elijah. The scriptures tell about Elijah praying to God against the people of Israel. He said,
Lord, they have killed your prophets and destroyed your altars. I am the only prophet still living, and now they are trying to kill me.
but what answer did God give to Elijah? God said,
I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have never offered worship to Baal.
it is the same now. God has chosen a few people by his grace. And if he chose them by grace, then it is not what they have done that made them his people. If they could be made his people by what they did, his gift of grace would not really be a gift. So this is what has happened. The people of Israel wanted God's blessing, but they did not all find it. The people he chose did get his blessing, but the others became hard and have refused to listen to him. As the scriptures say, God caused the people to fall asleep. God closed their eyes so that they could not see, and he closed their ears so that they could not hear. This continues until now. And David says, let those people be caught, entrapped by the feasts they enjoy. Let those good times cause them to fall and get the punishment they deserve. Blind their eyes so that they cannot see. Keep their backs bent under a load of troubles. Proverbs chapter 18, verses 7 through 16.
Fools hurt themselves when they speak. Their own words trap them. People love to hear gossip. It is like tasty food on its way to the stomach. Someone who does careless work is as bad as someone who destroys things. The name of the Lord is like a strong tower. Those who do what is right can run to him for protection. The rich think their wealth will protect them. They think it is a strong fortress. A proud person will soon be ruined, but a humble person will be honored. Let people finish speaking before you try to answer them, so that you will not embarrass yourself and look foolish. A good attitude will support you when you are sick, but if you give up, nothing can help. Wise people want to learn more, so they listen closely to gain knowledge. Gifts can open many doors and help you meet important people.
Thank you, everyone. That was day 208. Join us for day 209. We're continuing in 1 Chronicles. And as we begin chapter 5, you'll hear all about Reuben's descendants. If you remember, Reuben was Israel's first son. You'll hear about Gad's descendants. Those are the people who live across the river from Reuben in the area of Bashan. And you'll hear about soldiers who are skilled in the art of war. And then how some of the tribes of Israel are taken by the Assyrian king and spread throughout the Assyrian Empire. And in the book of Romans, Paul asks an important question to himself. When God's people failed to listen to God, does their failure destroy them? He'll explain the answer to that question, and he uses that of an olive tree to illustrate the example. We hope you enjoyed today's verses. Be sure to leave us a positive review and to share this podcast with your friends and family. Please join us for the next episode as we experience the Bible in 1 year.
Did you know we offer online courses in creative writing, literature, and web design? Visit us at storymaster.online to learn more.